Casey, I'd just like to say we learned that yesterday, so. Alright, good morning everyone. I have to admit that I'm quite nervous to be standing up here in front of all of you right now. That might seem odd because I don't get nervous singing in front of large crowds, and I sure do love to talk, but something about this is a lot different. I have the sense of fear that something is going to go drastically wrong, and I'll just be standing here embarrassed, unsure of what to do. I had a similar feeling of fear the first day I walked into this building my freshman year of high school. I didn't know what to expect. How quickly would I make new friends? How hard would my classes be? Would it be awkward to have my mom as my teacher? As the first bell rang at 8:11 a.m., I had this gut-wrenching feeling in my stomach. I was terrified. But first period wasn't that bad. It was just chorus, and singing is fun. I spent the entire second period, Earth and Space Science, focusing on how my mom stood with her knees locked too tight, and how she said "beautiful" in response to students' answers way too much. And third period, biology, thinking about how great it was to be in a science class where my mom wasn't teaching. Thanks, Mr. Teff. I know you're here. Fourth period must have gone okay, because I couldn't believe the school day was over when the final bell rang at 2:47. The same feeling of fear returned again a few weeks ago when I realized how fast the looming date of graduation was approaching, and I still didn't really have a solid idea for my speech. I thought about bringing back my 8th grade graduation speech. It was honestly pretty good. But then I came up with this rather peculiar idea, and I decided to just try it out. So I asked 3 of my favorite teachers to name a normal, everyday thing, something ordinary. I told them it could be an object or a substance or a device, literally anything. I didn't tell them why I wanted them to do this or that it was even related to my graduation speech. But now I'm going to discuss each of these things. I started with Mr. Paquette, who of course just wanted to know what I was up to. After convincing him that it was nothing that would get him fired, he chose to name a coffee mug. When I say coffee mug, most of you probably get the image of a cylindrical cup with a handle holding some steaming coffee. But I think about how I look forward to that cup of coffee every morning, and how after I take the first sip, I can feel its warmth flowing through my whole body, and how it gives me a burst of energy to start off my day. I think about the routine and comfort I often have holding the mug while contemplating what's next, whether it be for that day or for my whole lifetime. I think of how the mug is a metaphor for life is what you make it. You can try to fill it to the brim with something you enjoy and savor every last drop, or you can pour it too quickly, guzzle it too fast, and not appreciate all that it has to offer. When you're halfway finished with the coffee, is the mug half empty or half full? That's your choice to make. And I also think about my collection of coffee mugs and how they represent more than just mugs. I have this one, which my best friend made and gifted to me, which I now treasure. This one, which represents one of my favorite things, cats, if you couldn't tell by my cap. And this one, which literally has inspiration written on it. The next teacher I asked to name a random thing was Mrs. Besso. She chose underwear. Let me tell you, I never imagined that I would be talking about underwear in my graduation speech, but I had to go through with my plan. Oh, and don't worry, I didn't bring any props in for this section. But I am going to talk about underwear. So first of all, people prefer different kinds. Are you boxers or are you briefs? Thong or boy short? It doesn't really matter as long as they're comfortable. For most people, the perfect underwear are comfortable, and they hold everything in place, but they aren't too restricting or too binding. In the greater scheme of things, you should be comfortable in life, but you shouldn't be restricted or bound to anything. You should be able to step out of your comfort zone. It's important to take risks if you want to discover enriching, life-changing experiences. Lastly, I asked Mr. Erickson to name a random thing. I was nervous that he would choose something like the Saturn peanut orbital or a polyprotic acid, but to my relief, he said water. He was probably thinking about the molecular structure of H2O at the time, but I'm not going to bore you with that. I could say so much about water. We need it to survive. It makes up 70% of Earth. It supports the millions of species that live in the ocean. It's a source of fun. It can be used to create energy, and it goes through an incredible cycle, often falling in a completely different place than it started for a new purpose. But what I think is most amazing about water is its persistence and its strength. Think about the vast gorges and canyons carved by water. For thousands of years, it rubs against rock, chipping away 1 grain of sediment at a time. And then there's a remarkable outcome, like the cliffs at Three Holes or even the Grand Canyon. It doesn't seem like water, something that can be so soft and subtle, can also be something so forceful. But it's because of its persistence. So just know that you too can be powerful if you are persistent, and that good things often take time. I want the coffee mug, the underwear, and the water to leave you with 2 important messages. First, you can find inspiration in anything if you look for it. And second, don't let others define who you are and don't define others. There's often a lot more that exists within than is initially apparent. Also, I should thank Mr. Paquette, Mrs. Besso, and Mr. Erickson, not only for providing me with 3 things perfectly full of hidden inspiration, but also for being 3 fantastic teachers who immensely impacted my education and shaped who I am today. And I do have to thank a 4th teacher, Mom. Even though I still think you stand with your knees locked too tight and you say beautiful way too much, you two are a fantastic teacher and you're a fantastic mom. And thank you, Dad, for everything you do. You're my biggest supporter and my biggest inspiration. Remember that sense of fear I talked about before the water and underwear and coffee mugs? Well, now it's stronger than ever. It seems like I just barely had that gut-wrenching feeling when the first bell rang at 8:11 my freshman year, and now the final bell rang yesterday at 2:47, and now I'm about to get my diploma and graduate. All I can think is what happens next. I don't know everything that's going to happen next, and that's what's scary. I think it's mostly scary because I could fail. We're all scared of failure, but we often must fail several times before we can succeed. Remember the coffee mug. Savor every bit of life, even if you swallow down the wrong pipe once in a while. The underwear. Step out of your comfort zone, or you could miss out on the best inventions ahead. And the water. Persistence is your power to succeed. It's okay to have moments of fear, but don't let fear stop you. We must learn to fail, or we will fail to learn. Thank you.